Hey guys, I'm back. Welcome back to the channel. So, I have not uploaded anything in over a month. Sorry about that. But obviously, during my absence, there have been quite a few new releases that I've seen that I haven't yet talked about. So, in today's video, I'm going to go over everything that I saw from April to May of this year and briefly give my thoughts on them. I obviously did one of these for February to March. This isn't going to become a regular thing, I promise. It's just, I was already behind on movies and this is a good way to catch up on them. So, yeah, I'm going to go over everything that I saw from April to May. This won't include Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which I did see in May, but I have a full review coming out for, so yeah, this won't include that. This obviously won't include a Minecraft movie because I have a full review for that, and there are a couple movies that came out in May that I haven't yet seen that I do want to see, so I'll watch those eventually. I'm going to go through these movies in the order I watched them in, and without further ado, let's begin with this recap video. So the first movie we're going to be talking about is Death of a Unicorn. There are people who appreciate this as a stocky B-movie creature feature, and I was really hoping to be one of the people who had fun with this because this is my kind of movie. Unfortunately, there was just nothing to this in my opinion. It's not utterly terrible, but I just didn't think it was very enjoyable. The characters aren't particularly interesting or fun, and the father-daughter dynamic between Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega's characters is forgettable. The performances are fine, and a positive here is Will Poulter, who is, the standout and is fairly enjoyable to watch when everything else around him isn't. The film has unsubtle satire and eat the rich messaging, which is appropriate for a movie like this, but it just got a bit exhausting after a while, and it isn't delivered in a particularly funny or entertaining way in my opinion. And the gory carnage, which credit where credit's due, is nicely graphic, I found to be too slow paced to be enjoyable, but that's probably just me. Again, definitely not the worst thing I've seen this year, and there's stuff in here which other people have fun with. I'm just not one of those people. 5 out of 10. So yeah, Death of a Unicorn was released April 4th in the UK, and in both the UK and the US, April 11th, we had The Amateur. Point of reference, I indeed have not read the book this is based off of or seen the original movie. This is very much an if you've seen the trailer, you've seen the movie film. Not in the sense that there's no reason to see the movie if you've seen the trailer, but if you liked what you saw in the trailer, you'll probably have a good enough time with the movie. I liked what I saw in the trailer, I was excited for this, and I did enjoy it. I think the strongest aspect of this is the performances. Like, Rami Malek kind of carries this film in my opinion. He's very good at playing this very skilled but introverted person who has clearly dedicated so much of his life to his work and is, determined to use his abilities to avenge his wife's murder. He gives a very convincing performance. Lawrence Fishburne is also very solid, even though his role here isn't exactly anything new or unique for him, and Jon Bernthal is, fine in the small amount of the movie he's in. My main issues here are with the pacing and the runtime, which is unfortunate because those were my main concerns going into this. I was really worried this wouldn't justify its runtime, and indeed it does not. This thing does not need to be 2 hours at all. I'd say an hour 45 at most. There is quite a lot of this which could have been trimmed, and I would have enjoyed this more if it was tighter and if the pacing was better. Unfortunately, it is the main issue with the movie for me. I also didn't really feel the emotional impact I think you need to feel for a movie like this, which detracted from the film quite a bit. It also has a couple of small action moments which are really poorly shot. Overall, it's an overlong but perfectly watchable thriller, unremarkable but solid for what it is, 6 out of 10. Also, April 11th, we had Drop, another perfectly fine basic thriller where if you liked what you saw in the trailers, you'll probably at least like the movie. It's absolutely nothing special, and it does have the issue of it goes a bit too far in the third act. I didn't have as big of a problem with the third act as many other people did, but it still does jump the shark for sure. It's also like when you get to the reveal and things start coming together and you start getting answers, it is just all a bit, yeah, okay, whatever. And as a whole, the film isn't much more than a, yeah, it's alright 95-minute thriller. It's not particularly memorable, but it is reasonably entertaining for what it is. It obviously has a nice style to it at points with its visuals. If you know anything about the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. And all the cast is perfectly fine. The fact that this plays out in a restaurant as well adds a nice enjoyable layer to it, just makes it a bit more fun to watch. So yeah, overall it does what it sets out to do well, 6 out of 10. April 18th in the UK, we had Warfare. Now, I was very excited for this. I really liked Civil War and was looking forward to see what the same people behind that would do with this one. It's a very interesting approach where it's basically just a scene for the whole movie, with it being set in one location and the film just being about putting you in the experience of war the best it can and delivering the most authentic experience possible. And it's a very effective film. Similarly to Civil War, it is impressive and immersive on a technical level with a very solid sound design, and it just adds to the overall intensity of the experience. It's got strong performances and it's nicely tense where it needs to be and horrific where it needs to be. I will say the approach this goes for, with it being, like I said, basically just a scene for most of it and it being told in real time and it not having much of an overall story. Like I said, it is an interesting approach and it is effective. I just don't think it fully works for me. Like, I definitely preferred Civil War to this and thought this was successful in what it was going for, but again, just wasn't fully for me. And like, I do think the pacing of it can be a bit off at times despite it being only 95 minutes. So I think it comes down to me not personally connecting with it as much when it comes to why I think this is a bit weaker than Civil War, but yeah, a very effective film overall, 6.5 out of 10. Also, April 18th, we had Sinners. Now, this is one that was on a lot of people's most anticipated of the year list, and I personally was never really excited for it, but I was always pretty confident that it would be at least good and that I would enjoy it. And then all the acclaim started coming out for this movie, and I got super interested, and yes, this is a masterfully crafted film. It is a film put together with so much love, care, and passion by Ryan Coogler that just kind of fires on all cylinders throughout all 2 hours, 17 minutes of its runtime, which, by the way, flies by, which is great to see after the amount of overlong movies we've been getting recently, which don't justify their runtime. I mean, literally the month before this, we had Mickey 17, which is the exact same runtime as Sinners, apparently, and it's insane how you really feel the length of one of them, and the other feels 90 minutes by comparison. This film spends the first 40-ish minutes setting up its world, its characters, its story, and it does it all really nicely. So before the vampire things start happening, you're invested, you're riveted, you're fully on board, and then it becomes an entertaining vampire movie in the back half, and then it reaches its conclusion, and you just feel like you've been given this complete epic experience of a film. The cast is outstanding, everyone brings their A game and puts their all into it. Michael B. Jordan is great in both roles, but also Haley Steinfeld, Jack O'Connell, Miles Caton in his debut, by the way. I mean, no misses from the cast here. It's obviously kind of a celebration of music and the impact music has, and the way music is integrated into the story is really impressive, and that element of it is definitely one of the most memorable parts of this movie. I have a few small issues here and there, and I definitely think the actual horror thriller aspect of it is pretty weak compared to the rest of it, but yeah, overall, it deserves the praise it got. It's very easy to see why it got the praise it got, and it's just a great experience with a lot to unpack. 8 out of 10. Also, April 18th, The Penguin Lessons. Yeah, it's a pretty delightful film. I do think it's elevated by Steve Coogan, who is very solid, and his character is given some nice development throughout the film. The way it plays out against the backdrop of 1970s Argentina and the political turmoil it was in at the time is interesting, although I understand why it may not fully work for some people, with the contrast between the stuff going on with the penguin and the backdrop of it all. I think the movie doesn't quite justify its almost 2-hour runtime, and it takes a bit of time to get going, and it's ultimately a very safe movie, especially with the 1970s Argentina military dictatorship stuff. But it's funny, charming, and the titular penguin is absolutely a highlight, so yeah, I really quite liked it. 6.5 out of 10. April 25th, we had The Accountant 2. Now, I went into this hoping to be completely won over because I am not big on the first movie at all, and hearing that this one ups the overall fun of it definitely got me interested. Now, this one's really frustrating because this and the first one are quite different movies. This one really improves the tone and is pretty much a comedy at points, and there absolutely is more fun to be had here than in the original, in my opinion, but I just thought it suffered extensively from the same issues that the first one suffered from. I think it's an overlong, overstuffed, convoluted, very uninteresting film, and I really gave up trying to care about what was going on halfway through, and I just really wish this was a tighter film. Neither of the Accountant movies need to be over 2 hours, in my opinion, and it's a shame because, like I said, there is fun to be had here. The chemistry between Ben Affleck and Jon Bernthal and the kind of buddy cop nature of the relationship between their characters is what a lot of people were talking about with this one. And they are both fun to watch in this, but they just couldn't quite save the film for me, and it is genuinely really funny at times, and like I said, the tone here is better than in the original, but yeah, these movies aren't quite doing it for me yet, unfortunately. So while I think it is significantly more fun than the first movie, its issues hold it back to the point where I give it the same score as the first movie, 5.5 out of 10. Also, April 25th, we had Until Dawn. Point of reference, I know very little about the game, and I went into this with very low expectations considering what people were saying about it. I assumed it would be mediocre at best, and to be honest, to my surprise, I had a better time with it than I thought I would. Like, I kind of had a bit of a riot with this for a lot of it, and the reason for that is it goes all out with its horror stuff. I mean, really full-on, aggressive, over-the-top stuff. It felt borderline campy at times with its horror, but that's probably just me. Insane gore, nice use of practical effects, and nice designs in here. Don't know how accurate they are to the game. I assume accurate enough, but I still thought it was quite solid from that standpoint. I also quite like the score here as well. Unfortunately, this is indeed held back by the things that usually hold back movies like this. The characters, script, and dialogue are all incredibly poor. I can see why someone would lose patience with this quickly. I lost patience with it eventually. There are a couple of attempts at being kind of meta here which don't work at all, so not a very good film, and there absolutely came a point in the third act where I just wanted it to be over, but you know what? for a 1 hour 45-minute horror romp, I think you could do worse. 5.5 out of 10. May 1st, we had Thunderbolts. This definitely subverted my expectations and surprised me quite a bit. I went into this knowing that the topic of mental health would be a part of this movie, but what I didn't expect was for that to be the core of the movie. It's basically what the story is about. It's at the center of the film, and it makes for the most unique and interesting story the MCU has told in a long time, in my opinion. Alongside that, it's also structurally a bit different from other MCU films, and it did definitely go against my expectations. I'm really happy with how kind of unique and distinct it was from other MCU films because of that stuff. Like, there's nothing particularly new or distinct on a visual level, and it's still got that MCU humor throughout, some of which hits, some of which doesn't. But I am happy with what this did with its story and the topics it covers, and I definitely think it's a win for the MCU. Florence Pugh is a really solid lead. She's able to pull off the action stuff nicely. She's also really good with the more emotional stuff, and the rest of the cast is also solid. I enjoyed the interactions between the team enough, but I would have liked to see a bit of a stronger and more memorable dynamic between them. And absolutely, some of the characters feel quite underutilized and underdeveloped. I also think the dialogue is a bit of an issue here at times, where it can be quite exposition heavy, but it's not Brave New World level or anything. It does have some decently enjoyable action scenes with some nice practical effects work at times, and I think the runtime is pretty decent for what it is. So yeah, it's definitely the most interesting MCU film we've had in a while, in my opinion, and I'm definitely a fan of it. It's not like it has a particularly deep or profound exploration of its themes, and I don't think everything fully works for me, but it's a solid MCU entry. It felt really nice to just be invested in an MCU story again and not just focusing on how much of a mess everything is. Coming out of this, I felt more excited about the MCU than I have in a while, which, to be clear, doesn't have anything to do with the post-credit scene. And I think if First Steps is a win, then the MCU will be in a really good place. 6.5 out of 10. May 16th, Hello Road came out. This is the latest film from director Babak Anvari and the first film I've seen by him. The premise of this is two parents receive a distressing late-night phone call from their daughter who's caused a tragic car accident. The majority of the film takes place inside a car as the parents drive down Hello Road to get to where their daughter is, and they're speaking to her on the phone. I think it starts off solidly enough as it sets up what is happening and the car journey begins, but as the film progresses, it goes in some really interesting directions that you probably wouldn't expect if you just know the premise, and I was really invested in it. I wasn't prepared for how scary, intense, and edge of your seat this gets at times, and I really recommend giving this a try and going into it as blind as possible. There are flaws here, and I can absolutely see why this wouldn't work for some people. It's 80 minutes long and leaves a lot of things unexplained, and I get why some people would think this is a bit of a mess and why it wouldn't fully work for them, but it did really work for me, and I'm super happy I went out and saw this. It's got a strong central performance from Rosamund Pike. I do think the performance from Matthew Rhys is a bit weaker. I'm not calling him a bad actor, I just didn't think he was particularly standout here. Then again, he was acting alongside Rosamund Pike, so maybe that had something to do with it. Yeah, I just say watch this one if you can. It's a really interesting film, which definitely won't work for everyone, but I absolutely recommend giving it a go to see what you think of it. I thought it was a thrilling experience, and it definitely left an impact on me. 7 out of 10. May 16th, we also had Final Destination Bloodlines. Listen, I'm no Final Destination fan. I watched the movies for the first time leading up to this one, and I went into this expecting to have fun. It's the highest rated film in the franchise. Really impressive the reception it's got, and it's like a Saw X situation, where this far into a consistently not well received franchise, it can deliver a really well received movie. And yeah, this is the type of film where it's just, yeah, it's nothing great, it won't receive any awards, it's not high art, but I had such a good time with it, and again, I'm not a Final Destination fan. This is the film in the franchise where it feels like everything has been perfected. It has the best tone out of any of the films in the series, where it just knows what it's doing, it knows it needs to deliver silly, gory fun, and it just goes all out with it. It's also the first film in the series to actually do something new and different with the story, which instantly makes it the most interesting of the sequels. The characters aren't terrible, they're not very good, but somewhat acceptable by horror movie standards. The visual effects are okay throughout the film. The kills are outrageous, probably the goriest film in the franchise, and it's got a really nice send-off for Tony Todd as well, RIP to him. My main worry going into this was the runtime. No Final Destination movie needs to be almost 2 hours long. I didn't feel the runtime during this. I honestly think it kind of flew by, so yeah, it's flawed, it's nothing great, but it's quite a lot of fun, and I'm so happy that we got what is, in my opinion, the most enjoyable film in the series here. 6.5 out of 10. May 16th, and the final movie we're going to talk about today, Hurry Up Tomorrow. This was always a really interesting project to me. It basically just exists to promote an album, yes, but it's an interesting album promotion for sure. It stars high-profile actors, and The Weeknd plays a fictionalized version of himself. Now, I'm not a The Weeknd fan, but, you know, I like Blinding Lights, but yeah, I was really interested to see this, although I did always feel like it had potential to be a mess. it's a terrible movie. I think for positives, like I said, it is an interesting project. The performances are probably the most acceptable part of it. Jen Ortega is good as always. Barry Keoghan actually kind of knocks it out of the park. The Weeknd isn't great, but his acting is the least of the film's problems. It's got a nice soundtrack for fans of The Weeknd, and it is absolutely an impressive film visually. It's got some nice warners and is shot nicely, but man, it just goes so far with that stuff to the point where I got so sick of it not even halfway through. This film proves that you can have too much of a good thing. It's such an, oh, look at me, I'm so artistic and visually stunning film. Self-indulgence reaches new levels here. It starts off mildly interesting but goes nowhere. It attempts to be deep and profound and it comes off pretentious and pompous. It is just an absolutely incoherent, dull and laughable waste of time, and it's such a shame because I was so interested in it. I know that fans have gotten stuff out of this, which is good because they're the target audience, but I just felt really weirdly sad coming out of this. Like, I just have this depressing feeling within me whenever I think about this. It's such a waste of time, and I really wish it wasn't. 3 out of 10. Anyways, thank you very much for watching this recap video. If you did enjoy, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you want to, feel free to let me know what did you watch between April and May of this year. What are your thoughts on the movies I've talked about, the movies you saw, all that stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, bye-bye. Again, this isn't going to become a regular thing, at least hopefully not. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, bye bye.